Ardent Sensor supports, those are going to be left available, along with the Sejuani, which is another big ban that right now is still available for both sides.
Sejuani as well as the Galio. And Galio, even after some nerfs, has been very instrumental in a lot of teams' dynamic play here and a lot of the objective control. That is something as well that TSM have put some more time into, so very well could be the case. I mean, you kind of want to get one of these three, right? Galio, Cho'Gath, or Maokai. Tanks on the field. That, in addition to an Ardent Sensor, is usually how you craft the more stable compositions.
Also, Gragas on top of that, even though he did have a few nerfs here or there, still considered a very strong jungler. But it looks like Flash Falls, they know what their priorities are.
Yep, Xayah banned for Flash Falls, Rise on the TSM side, and that means Sejuani, surprise, surprise, is our first pick on the blue side.
So you've already got a really strong engage from the side of Flash Falls. Karsa, he's not going to be bringing out that old insane invade jungle grave style of play. Instead, he's going to be going more for the front line, more for the tankiness, and just be that initiation for the Flash Falls later into the game.
And Sejuani is one of the highest, pick ban champions that we have in the entire tournament, and it was given up for these two bans, the Rise and the Ezreal, last two bans from TSM, targeting that Maple and Karsa combination. Two of the champions that have emerged as really aggressive early combinations that you can get off, plus with split pushing options later. So TSM looks like when they wanted to get those out of the way and then go kind of toe the line here for the meta. There's your Gragas Bjergsen, and they've got one of the premier Ardent Sensor users. Some people prefer Janna, some people prefer Lulu. It looks like it will be the Lulu here for TSM.
Now it's interesting here that Flash Falls would choose to prioritize the Varus over the Tristana, because typically you'd expect something like a Tristana Janna lane to be picked up from the side of the Flash Falls, but they were expecting TSM to then go for the Varus Lulu bot lane, which right now is considered very strong, especially when you go for things like the Thunderlords on the Lulu as well to give you a bit of extra laning power.
It does look like Flash Falls don't want to give up, too much early momentum here. Grabbing that Varus as early as possible. One of the reasons also why Varus, is super popular right now, in addition to strong laning phase, is the fact that he has that passive for tank busting. Anywhere that you have max percent HP is really good in the meta right now, because a lot of the team compositions are built to work their way through tanks, then to the threats behind.
Now the only big pick that I'm looking at moving into the second half of the draft is Syndra. Both these mid laners love the champion, very comfortable for both sides, and it's a big playmaker to set up both mid laners to allow their junglers to come in and gang.
Well, as we have moved into phase 2 of bans, a quick recap. Taric for a tanky Ardent Sensor user on the Flash Falls side, and the expected Trist there for Doublelift. Galio is the next ban here for TSM, taking that away again, likely from Maple, but we have seen it top, and both these mid laners very proficient, very good, and will share a ton of powerful champions like the Syndra you mentioned as well, Vedius.
Yeah, I actually am a big fan of the Sejuani and Taric combination. Sejuani can try and start off the engagement, and then Taric with the ultimate buys a lot of time for both melee champions to try and stack up the passives for Sejuani, and try and get a couple more of those procs. Really working with that synergy. We do have a lot of solo lane picks here left up, though. Looks like for now, it is going to be some of the bullies in the top side as Flash Wolves decide to target Hauntzer here with that Jace.
Now bear in mind, Cho'Gath and Maokai both still available, both very blind pickable as well, and that seems like a bit of another respect ban going over towards Maple.
Yeah, Maple has used Vladimir very effectively in the past, and it's a huge team fighting champion. Very good to scale into later.
Pretty good with Taric, as it turns out. Diving into the back lines. Flash Falls, though, one ban left here in phase number 2, and TSM, of course, will get their pick of the litter as we come out of this phase. So Flash Wolves, where are you going with this final ban? Kassadin taking a solo lane champion away from Bjergsen.
Now they're definitely looking at a Corki right now for Maple. It's one of his most played during the regular season. He only played it during the playoff final, and with the Kassadin ban, it's basically saying, okay, that's one of the counters, we know what we're going for.
Talia also an option here if they wanted to try and get some of that roaming gameplay through.
But the Syndra does go over to TSM this time around. That does somewhat block the likes of Corki and Talia. So I think Bjergsen taking the proactive pick, and Flash Wolves will now have a chance to respond.
Always a little terrifying to see Bjergsen get his Syndra. This man is undefeated during the regular season on the champion. He's one of the best performing Syndra players that we have here at the World Championship, and it's just such a big comfort pick for him, and it's one of the champions that he made a name for himself all the way back when he first came onto this.
And in addition to Bjergsen's specialization on this champion, it's also extremely good when we're having team fights like we talked about. A lot of teams setting up for these 5-on-5s where you have to work through the tanks, and good Syndra players have been able to land these stuns through tanks into the backline, and anytime, even if you stun the backline of the enemy team and you don't go for the kill on them, if you're stunning them and CCing them, you're just delaying their damage, and that buys time for you to win basically the tank health war, which has been very important.
Well, we have a Cho'Gath there, and we're kind of expecting maybe a Makai as Biofrost having some fun with the crowd, flashing the likes of Garen, but it will be Gnar locked in for Hauntzer to kind of solidify that front line.
So they're giving a power advantage in terms of the laning phase up in the top lane and down in the bottom lane for TSM. So Svenskeren, he has a few options of where he wants to play around the map, but it feels like this game, they have so many lanes to play around. You also have the Syndra setup in the mid lane. Like, they're looking potentially for a couple of early game plays with the composition that they've drafted.
Definitely is a lot of crowd control for the Flash Wolves on the bottom side post to level 6. TSM might have to worry about that one as well. I really do like this top lane matchup though, with the Gnar into Cho'Gath. There are definitely possibilities of trying to put, top lane focus. We keep talking about bottom lane, bottom lane, bottom lane. But that is definitely one as well, where if you can get the Gnar that lead against the Cho'Gath and get a Cho'Gath behind, he does become a pretty easy prey if you can get Frozen Mount slows down.
But it's one of the interesting things too, where in the early games, Sejuani has a surprisingly large amount of burst, and you have a lot of CC with the Cho'Gath. So when he's in that mini Gnar form, he overextends ever so slightly, and then you have this double tank gank top, and you can very quickly turn that matchup in your favor. So I'd like to see Hauntzer also respect the possibility of an early gank from Karsa on the top side.
I think it's kind of fun to watch these top laners because both Gnar and Cho'Gath kind of have this identity of they can really take over a game and a lane, but they are very vulnerable if ganked at the right times. I mean, Gnar changes forms back and forth, and one of them is very difficult to gank, and the other one is mini Gnar. So I think there's definitely a lot of action that can happen in any of these lanes, and with TSM getting so many comfort picks with the exception of Lulu and Flash Wolves having a very strong comp, we are primed for an Well then, let's see what happens here. Flash Wolves and TSM are taking to the Rift for the first time here in Worlds 2017. Not the first time these two teams have played against each other, and not the first they've been to Worlds, but it will be their first encounter here for this tournament.
I'm really excited for this game. I'm really going to be paying close attention to both junglers and both supports. I feel like they're going to be extremely impactful in terms of how the early game plays out, because typically when you look at a team like TSM, throughout the regular season, they've been known to play more of a defensive early game style. They're much more focused and look to make more of the plays towards the mid and late game once they've gotten a few items under their belt. And I think with the composition that Flash Wolves have, they're trending towards the same kind of style.
Yeah, what you're talking about here is something that TSM members during the regular season were pretty outspoken about, changing their focus. People will remember this TSM roster from last year at Worlds, and going into that Worlds with just absolutely very fast game times, smash the region, and we're just looking to power through games basically. But after that, and after the defeat there last year, TSM made a conscious choice to focus a lot more and practice on coming back in games and winning games where something went wrong early. So that led to a lot of these longer game times and more sort of thoughtful mid games.
And when you look at a team like Flash Wolves, they've just been so dominant within their region, especially around playoffs, that they've been able to get a lot of their leads during the early game and especially during the laning phase. And against a team of TSM's caliber, I feel like that they're just going to have to slow things down. And especially with the way the current meta plays out and with the composition that they've drafted, we're going to see a lot of team fights later on to the game.
Well, certainly a bit of action here on the bot side. SwordarT and Biofrost going back and forth, but a lot of damage being done there to Bio. SwordarT with that passive getting some early damage, and it is interesting talking about all these carries and just thinking that SwordarT and Biofrost have done so much work for their teams. They love to get active around the map, and it's uncensored this time, but you never know what can happen.
Exactly. I mean, we were talking earlier about, oh yeah, SwordarT, and he does so much for the team, and he likes to create a lot of plays and roam around. Biofrost actually has extremely low AD carry proximity as well, the lowest of any support at the tournament. So, even from his side, it's going to be a bit of a shift here. Now, everybody's just on the race to Ardent Sensor, because first support to get Ardent Sensor, if you can get an entire back before the other support, then that can turn into a tower, a dragon, in first rotation.
And I feel like you're very correct, Kobe. I think that we're going to see a higher priority in trying to get this early on sensor, but I also just know SwordarT, and I feel that even though he's playing on this Taric, I wouldn't be surprised to see him rush early mobility boots, look to try and make a roam up mid lane. And I just feel that when you have both these supports, they're just those kind of playmaking style players. They're always trying to do something that can get their team that slight edge, which makes this bottom lane so exciting.
I know your heart wants it, but the Ardent Sensor draw.
It's very true. It's very true.
Well, have a quick check-in actually with the items. We've seen a lot of variations on these sort of things, but gold generation there in the bot side, refillable versus biscuits for Biofrost on SwordarT is a slight change, and then actually a Doran's Blade specifically for Doublelift, and the Targon's there for Betty. But like you said, kind of the goal is just get as much gold early and rush Ardent Sensor.
Yeah, I mean, it's become so commonplace now, but we should continue to mention it every single time. You know, the gold generations items on the bottom half becoming very common here for AD carries. To get those Targons, that also does provide, you know, extra heals in lane as they're able to get the executes, and you can see the sustain is no problem for either of them down there. Both just trying to bank up.
And you will also see some AD carries upgrading their Relic Shield to the second part of it, and the reason why they do that is because it gives additional base health regeneration, which against a rough lane like Tristana and Lulu is always extra valuable. But on top of that, it gives you that extra bit of gold towards your ally because it goes up from 15 to 40, so it just makes stacking that Ardent even faster.
And we have been talking so much about the economy of bottom lane, checking in on the runes for both of these supports. These two guys actually have not taken the gold runes that we've seen some of the teams here at Worlds already really start to go with. So that gives you a little bit more combat effectiveness for your lane phase, but they won't have the super inflated gold numbers that we're used to for the supports. Meanwhile, top lane there, Hauntzer is pushing up on the Gnar, so possible sneak attack from Karsa if you can get around the extra vision.
Very impressive trades here for Flashworlds in particular. The dual lane doing nicely to get damage down, but here comes Svenskeren. Going to try and weave through some vision. Flashworlds with the ward and the pixel brush. Going to see it, but Karsa around the corner. Oh, vision plan there, and now Karsa going to spring the trap, gets him back there with the Arctic Assault for a bit of the dash, and the stun is going to permafrost him up. MMD roaming double. Hauntzer left over. Hits the blast cone and goes back away. Sven could be safe here.
Yep, Sven's going to continue the invade because they just forced Maple's recall here. You can see the Corki pushed in and wants to get his base off. That's why Svenskeren can continue this invade. They have the extra information, and the teleport now used. It's going to be time to exit.
Wave right there, so Maple able to scoop up this CS despite having to take a recall. Bjergsen 10 ahead, although Maple will catch up. As he teleports back to lane. Bjergsen, though, with the last chapter now ready to go, so already building up some early lane pressure. And now Rupture lands in. Hauntzer, though, gets some damage down. One more auto needed, but can't quite proc Hyper again.
And so far, the laning phase going very much as we expected. TSM have three very strong laners with the Gnar, the Syndra, and the Tristana Lulu, and that's why they're starting to build these slight CS advantages along with the slight gold advantages during the laning phase.
That's right. We have about 100 gold advantage for Doublelift over Betty at the moment, but then there's a slight gold advantage as well for SwordarT over Biofrost down there. Do the extra gold given over from the Targons, and it's a little bit close, but TSM slightly favored as far as the bottom lane gold right now.
And when you think about TSM, and again, going back to their regular season, they're not afraid to play when they have a minor deficit. Like, usually, in the majority of their games, they're either going even or slightly behind. They don't try and force a huge amount of plays in the early game because they do prefer that defensive style of play. And the fact that they have strong laners right now and they are keeping that neutral game the way it is, this is very much a game plan and a play style that TSM is very much using.
Yeah, this is what the game right now is what you get when both teams opt into the focus on trying to farm early for the less volatile early starts here. This is group stages, the first game for both of these teams, and we're approaching level 6 here for the junglers as well. That's where you get a bit more playmaking. Currently though, TSM should be able to take away this blue no problem since Karsa was in base on the Sejuani, and that will be one step towards getting Bjergsen a bit of an extra lead there in the mid lane.
Yep, really nice team invade there. Bjergsen needs one more auto. Patience. Does grab it though. Patience doesn't quite run out.
Yeah, that's what you have to watch for, is the bar at the top, the patience bar. Yes, the blue buff will run very quickly, but it won't start regenerating the health until it loses complete patience.
Now, we can also actually see 4 members move towards the bottom side of TSM's jungle. They have 0 vision right now, but it feels like Doublelift and Bio, they're respecting the possibility of this map moving. Given that Paymall's, he's already missing from the middle lane, and with the vision that they've set up in the top side, they don't know where Karsa is. So good respect from the bottom lane of TSM.
Yeah, the communication is definitely there that it's a possible blue trade. Currently though, Flashwolves just move in for the vision, place the wards down, and Karsa has backed off probably to get the Scuttlecraft first so that you can have that extra speed to run away to, if things do go wrong. But having seen the extra recalls here and with all the vision, he starts it up.
Collapse here onto the blue though, potentially Sven is going to check this.
This might not available for him though, so Maybe he can bluff it.
Have to see. Karsa should be okay with this one. Bottom lanes are roaming up, but Sven might get stunned. TP in actually from MMD. The stun is going to land smite onto the blue buff. Bjergsen also there. Sven forced to flash out of his own jungle. Blue buff goes to Karsa.
I don't know about Forrest. He does flash at the end there, but a little bit jumpy. The teleport was canceled for MMD, so it turned out there was going to be an exit path, but you can tell how first game of Worlds for these teams, they do not want to give up first blood. And Sven does have to blow his flash there, or does end up doing it regardless.
I feel like he was just showing a lot of respect to his opposition. He realized that, oh, okay, bottom lane is also roaming up. You also have the top lane TP. You don't want to run into the risk.
Yeah, but now he's going for a play after blowing his flash, so it is a bit risky on the bottom side. Going to have to give a lot of respect to Karsa once he shows.
Karsa's still there as well. Sven snuck around the speed shrine vision, but hit a control ward trying to get out of the way. So Karsa's still holding court here on the bottom side of the map. Certainly has reign of this area. Again, solo laners for TSM still looking good, but the bot lane assault's kind of mounting here for Flash Wolves.
And we should also, bring up the summoner spells for mid lane, as the teleport was on display for Maple earlier. Bjergsen has opted for the cleanse a lot because of the Sejuani. But also, later stages, the Varus ultimate is going to be something in mind.
Also keeping an eye on itemization, especially between the two AD carries. That's a Berserker Screams Varus. But this is a BF Sword Tristana. Probably likely that the Flash Wolves bottom lane not going to be looking to go for that many early aggressive trades, especially when you have such an AD advantage over on the other side.
Right, what it can also do, with the extra move speed, there's a very big discrepancy between a Tristana who's trying to get the BF sword spike, so no boots at all. Even with a Lulu on your team trying to speed you up sometimes, this Varus is going to have extra movement speed to try and get into position to hit that ult. And we talked about the post-level 6 crowd control of the bottom lane here for Flash Wolves. That's a possibility to keep your eyes on if they wanted to try and create a play.
And I love the early magic resistance coming out from Maple too. You can already see he has the components towards getting himself the Hex Drinker, still showing a lot of respect towards Bjergsen, doesn't want to run the risk of getting bursted out again because he is running that TP. He doesn't have that defensive summoner spell, and he's just saying, all right, I know how hard Syndra can hit, and I'm just not gonna, I'm gonna avoid it for as long as I can.
Yeah, it's no Bramble Vest, but I like it much better.
Certainly a necessary precaution as Maple kind of zips around some vision. Bjergsen looked bot, but was spotted by a nice controller just to right of mid. Bjergsen again still kind of getting a slight CS lead here, but now going to go back and probably finish his first major item around No Man's Land. Has been the standard for a while, so should have enough money now, if not very soon. Doublelift still playing up. Betty going to back off the charge and against SwordarT, healing him up, keeping him safe, and kind of this bot lane parity continues.
Now the only other thing we need to keep our eyes on is the potential swap from bot up to top. And the main reason why we're likely to see that is because the early dragon on the map is the Cloud. And in terms of priority, teams are going to be looking at that Rift Herald to give them that early tower advantage. And when you have this pushing power of the Gnar already in the top side, it means you can send the Tristana, who is great at sieging towers, along with the Lulu on a good push, and maybe take that first tower top and very quickly translate it into an early Rift Herald. And it would make sense from TSM. It's about whether or not Flash Wolves want to try and react to that play, or if they just want to try and trade it on the other side of the bottom.
Pretty incredible amount of attention being paid to this bottom lane as well. Karsa and Svenskeren once again swept their way down there. But a couple wards there for Flash Wolves, making that a little troublesome. Still TSM holding strong in their solo lanes. Mid's okay, Bjergsen up 10, but Hauntzer actually has a nice lane lead of 20 CS and a Cull ticking down, so really investing in his mid-game power.
Yeah, it's worth bringing up the wards that TSM have invested. Those control wards on the top half of the map have been there quite a while. TSM have invested several of them, and they've been moving them around a little bit, but that has allowed a lot of extra confidence here for Hauntzer on this matchup. As you mentioned, the Cull is actually pretty close to popping there. Only 36 left for it, and we'll see if the game does start to kick off after that.
And we talked about the priority on the Cloud Drake. It feels like Flash Wolves, they've got their eyes set on it. We were just talking about how TSM have all this vision invested topside. It means the bottom is completely dark. And Flash Wolves, they're taking advantage of this. They don't have much deep vision, but they do have full control around the river. And having this bit of early game mobility will be a nice advantage, but also opens up to the possibility of maybe another strong Drake afterwards.
First Drake looking good there for Flash Wolves. They'll happily collect the Cloud, but that slight gold advantage in bot lane actually paid off because SwordarT had the sensor for a potential fight, and Doublelift, he's in trouble to get out of the stun after jumping out, but the Chain of Corruption is perfect! Lulu barely here in time as Doublelift's trying to flash out of the way. The Buster Shot already used, and Doublelift lives through it.
Yeah, and on the top side, TSM had made a movement up there, but Betty and the Flash Wolves are sticking around on this bottom turret that are trying to get the bonus gold.
They don't have the minion wave to continue the push though, and TSM, they're going to use this as an opportunity to take away some of the enemy jungle camps, but Flash Wolves, their eyes aren't getting that first tower. They went for the Drake. TSM should have been aware that Karsa was in the bottom side of the map because it was visible. Everyone knew that the Cloud Drake just died, and they were playing a little bit more reserved, but Flash Wolves, they make the play anyway, and they're going to get the very first tower of the game.
SwordarT powering all his teammates, looking good as Hauntzer going to get a TP out of Maple. Actually, he's got the package. Hauntzer about to transform, but he got the turret very low.
This is an interesting call here because both teleports are topside now. TSM are bringing 3 people. They could try and force.
Might go for a play here, but Maple quite strong with 2 items and a Hex Trinket. Trinity Force not done, but it might not be enough. Hauntzer, Mega Gnar going to threaten them off the turret, and TSM will make an eventual trade. Bot outer for top outer.
I like the TP up top from Maple because it avoids the risk of their top laner dying. They still have the ability to get the collapse or make the cross map play rather with MMD's TP as well. And I think that the whole move was very defensive and good.
But the teleport didn't get them anything. They could have equally saved the top laner by just having MMD back away from the turret and seating it. The tower did go down anyways. Regardless though, Maple's going for some damage on Bjergsen.
Got the package as well. Might be able to threaten something under the turret. Bjergsen going to have to play safe. Doesn't really have heal, just cleanses his other defensive summoner, so Maple going to burn the package in a way, but that's Bjergsen likely forced off this turret, or at least has to pop that potion. And again, the tempo continues for Flash Wolves. Now on the Rift Herald, playing very fast now that SwordarT upgraded to that first major item, but TSM looking to respond.
Now bear in mind, both TPs are up. Engage half.
Another ulti there. Sven going to get caught for the wild growth into the Gragas. He flashed out of the way. Bjergsen looks for the stun, but doesn't quite get it. The ultimate from Taric is going to complete the rest of it, but the nom down. First blood for MMD.
Flash Wolves, they're the ones to start off the Rift Herald. They're the ones to start off the fight, and they're the ones to find first blood in this game.
They're going to continue it as well. The heals come through for Taric. Ardent Sensor healing everybody up. Maple does stick around in mid lane, and he could try and collapse on a TSM as well. Hauntzer was building up the Gnar rage, but it looks like TSM might abort.
Loving the confidence from Flash Wolves. They know that TSM at this point in the game should be stronger with the Syndra, with the Gnar, but they are not afraid to force these plays. They move to the Rift Herald. They feel they're in the better position, and they're able to get a collapse, and now they're the ones that are in control of the game.
Yeah, enough burst there with Cho'Gath's ultimate to grab first blood, but we'll watch this one again.
Immediately gets PC'd. They have a good chain, and he drops off an ultimate on the way out. Teleport from MMD was in a great position though, and that flank, easy feast for him, able to stack up.
And I feel like TSM, they just they split off on what their decision making was, because we saw Maple come in from the flank, and immediately Bjergsen, Double, and Bio all turned towards Maple, which just abandoned Svenskeren. Even though we saw a great ultimate onto SwordarT straight into 3 of the carries, it was not utilized or taken advantage of simply because their focus was elsewhere.
And right now, the Varus with the Rage Blade completion on that single item does have a pretty decent spike, whereas Doublelift went for the Shiv first, for the bigger AoE, bigger minion clear, and is working on the Infinity Edge next, but it's going to take a while for the extra multiplier to come through. So Flash Wolves are feeling pretty good about their position here. The lead for them isn't tremendous at the moment, but they do have a good amount of control.
Still a very even game in Flash Wolves. They still have their eyes on this Rift Herald. The moment that Training Force is completed for Maple, I feel like they're going to feel even more confident, especially with the Righteous Glory already done and good to go for MMD as the Rift Herald starts off once more.
Yep, Flash Wolves back on the objective. TSM are around to respond. Hauntzer and MMD cannot make it here though, so a 4v4 at best.
Okay, the Rift Herald about to go down. Is it going to be a fight? They might actually just give it up.
Herald could be dead, that's another stun in onto the Gragas. Taric lets the ultimate rip, and Svenskeren gets a decent bit of CC, but he's going to go down. No, not yet. Flash forward from Karsa does the kill with the kill, and now Double forced to turn and burn out of the way, but Double so close to getting stunned. That should be it. Launches it away, gets the stun, and Karsa able to grab the Double. Now Bjergsen knocking for the rupture, and not by MMD. Flash Wolves wipe TSM in that fight.
This is a disaster for TSM. Once again, they walk right into this Rift Herald. No teleport on Hauntzer. He's not going to be able to join that fight. They get demolished.
But what an amazing fight for Flash Wolves. Once again, they use their confidence to force the fight onto TSM. They punish the overextended Sven, and they're going to translate this into 2 very swift mid lane towers and extend their gold lead to 4,000. We talked about how Flash Walls, they were considered to be weak initially coming into Worlds, but after the last few weeks, confidence has been building. The other teams say you have to respect this team. And once again, at an international tournament, Flash Wolves, they're here to play.
Can never count out a player like Karsa. Once again, snipes Svenskeren.
All right, so they're going to get the stuns here on the Sven, and he does get the ultimate from Lulu to delay this and give him some extra time, but they're still on the chase. Maple's dumping out the damage. Karsa on the front line, able to get Doublelift cornered as well, and they clean up the AD carry afterwards.
And you can see the 2 top laners, MMD, he gets to the fight so much sooner than Hauntzer is able to, but the damage has already been done. Really want to give a shout out to SwordarT, who at the beginning of every fight ultimates immediately. So even if TSM want to try and get a turnaround, they want to try and go for the fight, they can't do any damage, which means that Flash Wolves, they always have that confidence and they have the power to be able to come out ahead at the initial stages of the play.
2 times in a row, Karsa gets the initiation onto Svenskeren. Straight jungler versus jungler there. Able to target him right in the middle of the river, right in the same spot.
And we have a pause here. Fairly tense point in the game, 19 minutes or so through. Flash Wolves looking very good as they kind of build towards the 20-minute mark. Gold lead has grown to about 3,000 now for the team, and still fighting over that Rift Tower, which has less than a minute to live. We'll see if either team can grab it, but again, you have to credit the coordination for Flash Wolves totally is a team winning those fights, but of course, the man leading the charge is Karsa and his Sejuani, which maybe we're starting to see the reasons it's been almost 100% presence this tournament.
I mean, people are well aware of the reasons for months now of Sejuani topping the charts, both in solo queue as well as competitive, and that combination with Taric is really on display as well, because immediately as the initiation from Karsa comes out, SwordarT is very quick to follow. Taric ultimate is down, so they have the full confidence to chase and try and get those passive procs.
But I also love the fact that Flash Wolves, they're just utilizing the strength of their composition, because typically you'd expect, oh, okay, Syndra, Gnar, Trist, these guys are all pretty strong in terms of the early game. If you want to try and fight this, it's going to be very difficult, but Corki, he only really needs the Sheen, and if you add a Phage in there too, he's going to hit a very valid power spike. The Rage Blade on the Varus as well. This is a strong AD carry, or a strong point for the AD carry, especially when your opposition is working towards that 2-item spike. So Flash Wolves, they recognize they can force fights. They know that at this point in the game, they should be stronger. And TSM, rather than just concede objectives, are always trying to challenge them. And it's just Flash Wolves every single time getting the better of them.
It does feel like at this point it is tough to win team fights given the front line that Flash Wolves are kind of built up early. Again, we do have that pause. Flash Wolves, I believe, have called for it, so we'll see if we can resolve the issue nice and quickly and pop ourselves back into the game. I think TSM may be struggling at 2 different points here. In the top lane, Gnar, much more of a 1v1 focused side lane champion in the early game, and of course that Black Cleaver potentially moving into another item like the Frozen Mallet for Hauntzer. We'll have to see. On the other side for Doublelift and his Tristana, also kind of doing the same thing where he does need a bit of lead time to really build up towards 3-4 items and truly unlock as a late game carry.
As we move on as well, the initiation from TSM is going to be a bit more unreliable and require some more coordination. Gnar and Gragas both require some precise movements to try and pull off, so we'll see how this does develop. Flash Wolves with that healthy lead here in the mid game, going to look to probably transition up to the top side, get that last turret that really opens up the map, then they can start flooding through with the vision.
And also just like going a little bit more big picture, while the game has been very Flash Wolves favored, we'll also get this opportunity to see more of the resurging picks. Number one, we're like, okay, we understand why Sejuani is picked or banned all the time, but also Taric. I know Dash on the desk is going to be super happy about this. He talks so much about how he thinks it's a very strong support and how when you think about the meta, everyone's like, okay, Lulu, Janna, those are the 2 Ardent Sensor supports that really come into top tier. Karma maybe is the next tier below, but Rakan also up there. Even better when you compare it up with the Xayah. But then like, oh, okay, what else can you put up there? And teams have been innovating with the Taric. We did see it come out yesterday and had a lot of decent success. And now we see the Flash Wolves experimenting with it. And it has a surprising amount of lane power. It has a huge amount of utility in team fights. And it just makes things so awkward for the enemy team to do. Because what do you do when you do no damage to your opposition for so much time?
And I think one of the big things there is the things that they've paired with it as well. I think you can't just shove Taric into a team comp and hope it's going to work, but I think a lot of the comps that are being played currently in the meta do certainly suit this type of pick. And again, we know the known quantity in Sejuani. We're maybe discovering the new quantity here in Taric, and that pairing combined with another frontliner here for MMD, Flashers can just start fights without having any fear. You said it already, Vedius. The most important thing is that SwordarT is pulling the trigger instantly when the fight starts. Because if that ultimate's late, it's awful. But as soon as it happens, you saw what Sven did. He just threw out his ultimate and ran away. Because what can you do when the entire team is invulnerable? The answer is nothing, depending on everyone playing at home, which is why it's so good.
It does feel like TSM, they're struggling to find that right fight for the time being. And bear in mind, they can still scale very nicely as the game progresses. I am looking at this Tristana, and let's just have a look back at how this fight all played out.
All right, so right in the same spot here, they get the double stuns onto Svenskeren to start it off. He's able to get his Curse of the Colossus shield, as well as Biofrost getting the shields on him, but as you see, the flash forwards, immediate chase there from the Flash Wolves, cornering Doublelift as well.
Yeah, but you really need to keep your eyes on Bjergsen in that fight as well, because he only landed his stun onto Taric. He was not able to get any real damage onto the back lane again because of the Taric ultimate, and it felt like that he came into this fight and he's like, I can't do anything, and I'm just, it must be so frustrating to be in that situation when you're prepared and ready to fight, but then a single ability just dissuades your whole engage.
It's kind of funny in that both the mid laners are actually kind of waiting to get to a point where they can combat these big tanks a little bit more. Maple hasn't even finished his Trinity Force yet, still getting to that very important point for him, kind of delayed his build slightly, going for the Hex Drinker and powering up his landing sets more. And Bjergsen probably needs a Void Staff, and Leanders will also be crucial, which I believe will be his next item, judging by standard Syndra builds, that he can really start to do some damage to the tanks. But until then, Taric, Cho'Gath, and Sejuani reign supreme at this point.
Yep, just want to reiterate my theme of the reliable crowd control. The real big standout for Flash Wolves has been their use of the crowd control 2 times, locking down Svenskeren, being able to layer those CCs and those stuns has secured them this kind of lead and enabled them so much more control. That's why, like Betty, you're talking about TSM looking a bit uncomfortable in their setup for a lot of these fights, and it's because of that unreliability and the lack of CC that they're able to get out at the beginning.
Because the ideal situation for TSM is maybe you have a Hauntzer flank with the Svenskeren engage at the same time. In that setup, unfortunately, neither top laner had the TP to join the fray, but also we're yet to see Hauntzer really be one of those initiators for the team. All of the reliance has been on Svenskeren, and Flash Wolves have said, we'll engage on you before you can engage on us.
This being said, TSM do have the Tristana, which is going to gain more range and trying to get to that Infinity Edge for the real damage to start to come through. So they still have that to try and bank on, and they can try and play defensively and farm up until that point.
And just a quick update again, Flash Wolves asked about the lights. Apparently, bit of an issue, maybe some glare there. So making sure we get that all sorted out. The players have been given permission to talk, given the pause has gone on a little longer than perhaps we'd expect. So, they'll have a time to kind of talk about the point in the game for Flash Wolves. I'm sure they'll be hitting on a lot of the stuff that we've already gone through. Their game plan seems to have been executed nicely at this point. For TSM, likely talking about, okay, we know kind of where our insurance is, where our late game is going to be, and how we want to transition through this mid game, and likely talking about, okay, we're behind, but not that far behind. How do we get to that point where Doublelift and the rest of TSM can take over?
But it also gives us that opportunity to recognize that Flash Wolves is no pushover team. They came in as the pool 1 of the group, and right now they are displaying their dominance as in their debut match of the World Championship group stage.
All right, well, back into the mix now as Doublelift and Maple squaring off there in the top lane. Again, Rift Herald still on the table for not too much longer, but looks like Flash Wolves have decided on the Drake instead. This is a potent 2-man Drake team as MMD, if he wants, able to feast it away, but gonna leave the job to Karsa instead.
And you can just see the prioritization of vision from both sides. Flash Wolves, they've got a lot of the entrances towards the Drake entirely warded up around the mid lane as well, whereas TSM, they've got their eyes set on this Rift Herald. But I don't think Flash Wolves want to give this up without a fight.
Very well could be the case. Teleport is ready once again for MMD.
Might be a little too risky. Sven also has to get it, and again he gets ulted, not going to pick it up. Actually has to run out of the way. They did get the kill credit, but now Sven has to go back and get the buff. He does manage to collect it, and TSM, no casualties this time.
And the kill was just in the nick of time there, because the Baron was coming through to kick Rift Herald right out of the pit. They barely are able to get it in time and pick up the eye.
Doesn't cost anything for TSM though. They're able to walk away. And we just want to highlight as well, the thing about TSM is that even when they're at these kind of deficits, during the regular season, they demonstrated that they had a good job of being able to come back. Their mid-game decision-making, their ability to force fights, always seemed to shine as the game progressed. And it just ties back into their whole goal for the year, which was about preparing for Worlds and realizing that, hey, we might not always win the early game, but we're more confident now in our ability to turn things around later on.
All right, Betty, if you're setting up comebacks here for TSM, let's look at the turret count because that could go a long way in also bridging the gold gap. The Dragons, though, are something Flash Wolves will be able to hold on to. MMD goes on to Hauntzer, though, in mini form.
Yeah, Hauntzer has to know something's up because this is about to be a solo kill. Flash out of the way with the hump. It's going to land on MMD. Hauntzer flash out of the way and gets the kill. Now turning on to Maple, taking down. Great flash from Maple. Gets it out from under him, but Hauntzer, such heroics there.
And look at the mini-map. Multiple other members of Flash Wolves were heading down there. Hauntzer gets the outplay on the highlight crew right there. Maple finds himself hands empty and almost gets chased out.
Massive outplay coming in from Hauntzer, really punishing MMD for going in way too hard when he did not have the support of Maple. And now TSM, they're pushing down mid.
This opens up the opportunity for that Rift Herald to get some of that standing gold back that we've talked about in the turrets. This will go a long ways for TSM, but they're not out of the woods yet.
And we just talked about TSM's ability to come back. And part of the reason why they're able to do it is because of their individual performers, the star players. And usually you look at players like Bjergsen and Double, who you can never afford to underestimate. Hauntzer up in the top lane.
A little bit about the build there from Hauntzer as well enables it. You know, you want to build flat health versus the Cho'Gath for the ultimate. Yeah, you know, the Vaporal spikes are going to do some percentage health, but Hauntzer had just enough to survive and then get enough rage to transform for his fight with Maple. So he barely is able to get, you know, the victory off of one fight and turn that into an extra flash blown by Maple, which should probably be counted as another victory.
Yeah, I just wanted to add there, Kobe. Look at all the summoner spells that were used from Flash Walls. 2 flashes, both from MMD and Maple, and even the TP on cooldown for Maple, while Hauntzer still has his TP up and available, which means the TSM, they've been able to force some of that game back. But let's have a look at how this play happened.
All right, so there's one of the summoners you're talking about, the teleport used at the start of it. MMD does use Righteous Glory to get into position, but he doesn't get the slow onto Hauntzer, who sidesteps the Rupture, flashes over after jumping on top of Maple's head, using his teammate to be able to get over and assist for the kill. Then he forces Maple's flash there with the transformation.
And flashing away from Maple was so crucial because you saw how low he was at the end of that fight. He needed to create a gap just so that Maple physically could not hit him. Now he's been able to pick up a tower, and they've been able to equalize the tower score.
So the tower score has been equalized, and the gold has gone to that Infinity Edge, now completed for Doublelift. We're approaching the period in the game where TSM feels more comfortable in these 5-on-5 team fights. The crit multipliers have come through. You know, the slow for the Gnar has come through as well, but Sven is getting locked up here on the other side of this wall.
Respectful flash there, but Karsa over the top. Bjergsen comes up at MMD. Looking for a fast flank, a huge chain of corruption. Almost gets the team at Bjergsen. He's going to get knocked down the wall. Growth is going to save him as Sven does end up tying the Karsa. Bjergsen still living for a little while longer. Scatters the back in and kills SwordarT. Bjergsen still alive as Hauntzer about to go mega.
Huge team fight going on between the two teams right now. Doublelift is able to force Flash Walls back. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, and both teams walk away fairly even.
You have to watch all of the extra people entering from the sides of this fight because it looked at the beginning so good for Flash Wolves as they cornered the carries there from TSM, but both Doublelift and Bjergsen were able to sneak out of this one, and they answered 1-for-1. All of the kills, by the way, notably for Flash Wolves, are on their front line. It's on these tanks. Let's take another look at it.
And just keep your eyes on the aggression from Karsa, but also on the ward on your minimap at the back. TP immediately comes in, and this is what gives Karsa the confidence to go for the flash play onto Bjergsen. A great chain of corruption from Betty, tied up with the ultimate from MMD, makes you think that TSM are going to instantly lose this fight, but this is the power of Lulu, and it allows TSM to get the turnaround.
Oh, and Bjergsen almost went down at the beginning, but Biofrost gets the Lulu ult on him, then he dodges there for the turnaround. Flash
oh my god,
they're
such a fast Baron. MMD with the ultimate, beautiful from Flash will steal the Baron from TSM.
What a quick decision from Flash Wolves. TSM was still resetting from the fight. They didn't have the vision in the river. For the majority of this game, they've invested vision topside, but the moment they drop it, Flash Wolves pounce and they get themselves the Baron.
And the timing is so good for Flash Wolves because it's another 30 seconds left on the Drake, so TSM didn't even get to answer with the Drake as their consolation prize for this objective. Flash Wolves, Baron Empowered Recall, they're right back out on the map trying to push those minion waves and get the pressure reapplied.
And now we've reached the mid-game, Kobe. The game is just picking up in terms of pace. We talked about how there's going to be so many more fights, and that's what we have left to look forward to. Flash Wolves, their eyes are now on this top tier 1. They're going to round things out by taking out these final outer towers and open up the map a little bit more.
Got to keep a tally there on how many turrets they're able to get with the Baron buff. Looks like TSM have decided they were going to give up those turrets anyways, and so they do end up going for the Drake and grab it. That does mean Flash Wolves are going to take the outer turret very quickly here. In the meanwhile, Hauntzer finds Karsa in the jungle.
Don't think Hauntzer minds too much. Kind of built for tank busting with this build as Gnar, and now with the rest of TSM hanging out on the red buff. But Karsa, very sneaky, steals the red buff.
Also, another thing we should bring up here as we're talking about these mid-game team fights is the double Warmogs for the Flash Wolves frontline. You know, they can afford to go in for little skirmishes like that, take a little bit of damage, and then just get out of combat, fully regenerate, and keep up these sieges. We may see Flash Wolves with this more healthy front line be able to apply multiple times.
How a Doublelift reflexes. Oh, the ultimate does get him, and he rocket jumps out of the way. Karsa in a great position to try and snipe the bot laner of TSM, but Doublelift stays alive.
Keep your eyes on Maple though. Remember, he has the TP and he's the one that's been sent to the bottom lane. They do not trust that the Cho'Gath can hold his own against the Gnar anymore, especially with both the Frozen Mallet and the Black Cleaver completed. So having the Corki, level 16 Trinity Force and Rapid Fire Cannon done, he's going to have a much easier time not losing his life to Hauntzer on the sideline.
Hauntzer still well equipped though, has a Bramble Vest and a Spectre's Cowl for some early resistances, is starting to build into that tank side. And again, as this game ramps up, like you mentioned, Betty, has keep an eye on the carries and their builds, but for now, Flash Wolves still assaulting with a minute left on this Baron.
Hauntzer has transitioned over to the mid lane as well, holding those minions, and Flash Wolves trying to control this red quadrant that's got a couple pesky wards.
Hauntzer ready with the flash, but doesn't need to use it. Karsa actually doesn't have his ultimate right now, still waiting for the cooldown to come back up, and Flash Wolves just running TSM across the map, trying to poke holes until one of the turrets falls down, because for now, they've only gotten one outer turret, but looks like this siege could be good.
And just note how Flash Wolves are manipulating all 3 waves, constantly rotating and
Oh,
spending game.
Svenskeren gets one, but it's only Karsa into the back of the team. The Wildfire burn for extra knockoff as Hauntzer did transform, but he can't make it into the back of the team.
Yeah, Sven was looking for Betty there, almost got the angle, doesn't quite do it, so Betty still has both summoners available after the engagement.
Very quick heal from SwordarT as well to keep Karsa alive, but now their eyes are on the mid tier 2. The engage from TSM is unavailable. Hauntzer is in mini form. Flash Wolves, they feel very confident. Hauntzer jumps over the wall.
Maybe too much, but could be okay. Karsa actually getting a little low as Maple will finish off the outer turret Baron, but just about to wear off. So Flash Wolves managed to find 2 structures and do a lot of damage to some others.
Yep, able to use this Baron buff to wear down a lot of the defenses of TSM. Their front line has healed right back up with those Warmogs, and they're thinking about continuing onto the last outer turret here on top side, but decide to leave after Baron buff expires.
And again, TSM will get a chance to breathe here, but keep an eye on the farm. Doublelift working on that 3rd item. Probably needs a Last Whisper as well to really cut through this front line, but Rapid Fire Cannon should not be far away. Void Staff also very close with Bjergsen. So as TSM kind of hit those item breakpoints, I think then they can feel more comfortable picking straight up fights. And it's not that Flash Wolves can't team fight themselves, but for a lot of this mid-game, these fights have been very unfair given how fed Flash Wolves' front line has been.
I've just loved the engages that Flash Wolves have been setting up. It feels like it's always been on their terms, and we're yet to see TSM really get themselves a successful fight. We saw one go even earlier on, and that was very well played from some of the individuals on TSM side, but they need to be the ones trying to find these fights now. We want to be seeing these flanks from Hauntzer. We want to be seeing Sven land onto those carries rather than knocking the tank into the enemy team. But you can just see these level disparities starting to build. Level 14 Karsa to 12 of Sven, 17 Maple to 15 Bjergsen. And it's just because of the early lead from Karsa and because Maple can sit on a side lane that Flash Wolves are utilizing these level advantages, make it even harder for TSM to really find or even win these later fights.
Something else to keep track of here. It's interesting to monitor the support choices with their itemization, because there is this breakpoint after Ardent Sensor. Yes, everybody agrees. Yeah, that's super boring, and that's what you're gonna rush. Then we get into the interesting stuff, right? We have a Mikhail's now for Biofrost, which we've seen already in this tournament a couple times. Instead of the AoE heal here for the Redemption, which kind of applies more Ardent Sensor buffs and gets you this reset, and that is good for Flash Wolves for SwordarT because they have multiple 80 carries with the attack speed, even benefiting Sejuani and the like. But the Mikhail's now is going to keep Doublelift even safer, and there is the extra gold that Doublelift gets to put into offensive items on the Tristana rather than having to buy a QSS for himself like Betty did.
Exactly that, and also Flash Wolves, they need to think about getting themselves a locket too, because it's really effective at mitigating some of the burst that Syndra is going to be looking to throw out. And while the damage from Bjergsen is going to keep ramping up, Maple, he's no slouch either, already level 18, and he is looking scary with the Infinity Edge now done on Flash Wolves.
Good look at the gold graph there and how much damage the Baron buff was able to do. Flash Wolves, really nice pickup, sneaking that one and being able to take down a bunch of turrets afterwards. Now we are 40 seconds away from Baron number 2 though, and we'll see if that money is enough for Flash Wolves to get the second.
Last strike before Elder as well, as Hauntzer and Maple actually having a bit of a scuffle. Maple pretty strong here, but Hauntzer standing his ground up, throws him out as such a nuisance as MMD roams up to help his mid laner. TSM looking to get a lot of vision choked around this left side to try and force Flash Wolves off this Baron.
And TSM, they have so much pressure around the Baron area now. A limited amount of control wards in their inventory, which means that it might be a little bit harder to hold control. As you can see, Flash Wolves, they just walk in. Doublelift, he's on his way back on a ward 2. I feel like we're setting up for a very close fight right now.
He has almost enough gold for just Last Whisper, and Bjergsen has 3 items, so I think Doublelift really wants to go back before this team fight starts. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he has
He's gonna lose the Baron if he does. There's a Cho'Gath, man.
Also watch out there, Maple does have the package, and Flash Wolves have the inside track on mid lane. They can try and pressure these minions and force TSM to come at them.
Hauntzer now building up as well. A fight is primed here as a huge stack in the bot side has also been prepared by Flash Wolves. TSM need to make a decision quickly.
Well, you can see what they're doing. Bjergsen and Doublelift went for the minions, and they kind of cut off the reinforcements, this fly line for Flash Wolves. So now we're just left with a bunch of champions here middling around this brush as we see them both drop control wards into it to try and take it.
Package is worn off as well, and Hauntzer needs to rebuild his rage as he dips below 50%. A very tense back and forth, but again, the side lane still winning in the bot lane for Flash Wolves.
One of the big differences too is that the stun does land. One of the big differences is that rapid fire cannon built for Doublelift. Every time he's able to walk around and charge that one up, then he gets this extra long range shot to go for some harassment on Flash Wolves. Problem again though, those Warmogs heal the front line right back up. Ardent Sensor now on the Baron.
Yep, Hauntzer forced the TP. He went to answer that side lane, but Flash will start the Baron up again. They're going to stay in the pit, maybe a little too long, but now pulling away after burning Hauntzer's teleport.
Exactly that, Pastry. Flash Wolves, all they wanted was the side lane TP from Hauntzer. Flash Wolves now have 2 teleports themselves. They can maybe send someone off onto the side and start applying, or they can just continue to hang around the Baron as they started off once more.
Might as well go for it here. Vision in the pit there, but this Baron dies so quickly for the Flash Wolves. TSM looking for its fence. Gets stunned up with a Mikhail's on Biofrost. It's beautiful. Big stuns in the backside there. But the ult from Taric Burton, the fight resets. SwordarT uses the Redemption, and Flash Wolves back off the Baron.
Fantastic stun from Bjergsen, the man in the mid lane coming up clutch as Flash Wolves are the ones in control.
Oh, Maple!
Now TP on the bottom lane.
They're going to race though. Doublelift is going to push down this turret while Maple is going for the inhibitor turret.
Maple should be able to get this. The wave is there, but TSM needs to get back. 3 caught in the mid lane as MMD pops the Righteous Glory. He's got the stone plate. Maple gets the bot side turret. TSM scattered here.
Flash Wolves want to stop these back so that Maple can actually get the inhibitor turret, but Hauntzer got his off.
But the moment Hauntzer goes back, that's when Flash Wolves now go, we want to now start off the Baron. You've only got 3 members. Doublelift desperately wants to back to buy, and Flash Wolves are back on the Baron.
Double has 2,000 gold sitting in his inventory. TSM just cannot make Flash Wolves take their foot off the pedal. Again, they back off the Baron after a feint. Hauntzer forced to walk from bot lane to mid lane just to make sure nothing goes wrong. And finally, it feels like Flash Wolves will give it up for now.
There's still a giant minion wave in the bottom lane for Flash Wolves. Doublelift purchases and is able to go clean it up now and finally got his last Whisper. Meanwhile, Hauntzer on that Mountain Drake to even them up. 1 cloud, 1 mountain apiece, and things are getting intense, boys.
Sigh of relief from many TSM fans as TSM are able to hold off the siege from Flash Wolves onto the Baron. They still hold on to a very healthy gold lead. They're the ones that are still dictating the pace of this game, and they've been able to shop themselves, pick up a couple of extra items. The third stone plate now sitting in the inventory of Flash Wolves as SwordarT picks that one up, but I still want to see that locket on. Oh, there it is. Karsa working towards it. Going to make things so much harder for TSM in these later game fights.
The stone plates here are all built up for Flash Wolves. You have to watch out for those activations. It's huge, which they can turn the team fights. Now you have to also worry though, don't stack those up with your Taric ultimate, because TSM, they're able to kite out those cooldowns. Then they would have a pretty big advantage with the re-engage.
Another fight, trying to corrupt it, massive Svenskeren gets there by the ult, because Maple looks for the flank. Doublelift going to force him away, but Hauntzer looking to go mega.
Well, Hauntzer has a lot of control here, gets the slows onto MMD.
Stun hits one, that's MMD, could be going down the stone plate. It's getting a pop, Taric ultimate, he's going to try and save the fight finally. Drops down on Hauntzer, he's just run out of health, gets away with the wild growth, but Karsa flashes forward as they're trying to take down the front line. TSM just maybe have enough. Karsa goes down the double lift.
A little bit too deep there for the front line. Both the stone plates run out for Flash Wolves, and Doublelift is able to find the crits.
What an insane fight though. Only one member goes down, and it is TSM that finally find the kill. Doublelift is hitting this late game point. TSM know they can rely on this man to carry, and the pressure is mounting as he is doing so much work to help TSM in these later stages.
A lot of credit to Hauntzer too in this game. Being able to use the speed differential here on this champion is huge, and he's able to balance that Gnar rage. But Flash Wolves are still in the lead. They have the extra gold. See if they can actually bring that to brunt around this Baron. TSM are starting it off. Here come the Wolves.
Doublelift again, so much unspent gold, but TSM are forcing onto this Baron. They're burning it down, but MMD, no flash, can't get in the pit. Maple maybe can move in to look for a steal, but Bjergsen does take down the Baron. TSM get the objective.
Great decision making from TSM, knowing that the jungler was down. There was no smite available for the Flash Wolves. They only had 4 members and were not confident to go for the fight, and now the momentum is swinging back in the favor of TSM, and it all starts here.
Yeah, look at this big rupture. He sees it and he goes straight for Bjergsen. The cleanse gets them out in time though, and they're able to reset basically. Sven used his ultimate to delay, and then this is the highlight we're talking about, where constantly Hauntzer is able to use the speed differential there on Gnar. He goes for the re-engagement. Stoneplate buys him enough time for MMD to survive for the Taric ultimate to come down, but he still can't re-enter the fight.
And there's the big mistake from Karsa, flashing into multiple members, thinking that the team was there to support him, but they couldn't get into position to properly help because of the narrow choke point.
Yeah, he wanted to get that execute, right? There were multiple low health members, but he's on the Sejuani. All he can do is apply stuns and slows. He doesn't have the damage in his kit, has to have the backup right behind him. Meanwhile, he's flashing into the DPS members of TSM. Doublelift gets to unload, Bjergsen gets to unload, and they were able to come out with that kill. Now, Baron buff in their hands.
Looking to try and siege up here in the mid lane. Taric is going to fall down. TSM could grab the first inhib of this game. Doublelift is so strong. Having spent all that gold, Mortal Reminder done. QSS for himself also there, and TSM cracked the mid lane.
TSM feeling very confident right now. This was the comeback potential. We talked about the late game strength that their composition does have. All they needed to do was find that good fight, and they were successfully able to find it against the Flash Wolves, and now the pressure is on the LMS representatives.
Gold lead starting to shrink and become pretty irrelevant as we push late into the game. Hauntzer again looking for the flankers. TSM take turret number 6 to even up the score. Soon Super Minions will be streaming down the mid lane as well, but TSM, they've got a minute 30 left with Baron, and they're going to try and do as much damage as possible. Doublelift again, Karsa get himself stunned. Doublelift gets himself out of the way as Karsa lets the ulti rip. MMD there is a redemption. He's going to try and reset it off Sven low, but not dead to the Taric ultimate. But defensively, my God, a 5-man Gnar ultimate. He's going to secure the team by win. MMD down. As TSM move forward, SwordarT getting taken down by Doublelift. He barely lives, but Hauntzer, what a massive play!
What a machine Hauntzer is! He comes to the World Championship, he has an amazing performance. A 5-man Gnar ultimate could lead TSM to their first victory at Worlds.
TP's back in, TSM are going to go for it now. Flash Wolves, they fought so well to try and keep this game up, and Karsa is going to try and keep the boat afloat. SwordarT low, Doublelift just does too much. polymorph there. Beautiful by Biofrost as Karsa leaps in, but TSM, they cannot finish yet.
They wanted to end it, but the health bar is getting too low, and TSM will have to recall to refill those bars. That will give Flash Wolves another chance. MMD gets back up, but man, this momentum is completely in TSM's favor.
Oh my word, that Hauntzer ultimate was insane. We talked so much about how Taric's ultimate mitigates the pressure, the ability to force an engage, but not to Hauntzer.
So kiteable. TSM back off during the duration and gets the perfect re-engage there. Not only was he great in those team fights, remember the 1v1, 1v2 outplays that he was able to pull off in this game. We'll see if it's enough though. TSM have the Flash Wolves on the rope.
Not done yet. Elder Dragon up in 30 seconds. Baron Buff has worn off all 5 members of TSM. Doublelift has finished his final build. Bjergsen has a death cap now completed with an extra needlessly large rod, and this is likely going to be our final team fight of the game.
Got to put yourselves in Flash Wolves' shoes. Their backs are against the walls, but they do have some control wards around the river here for this dragon. They want to find an unsuspecting member of TSM walking through Fog of War. They try Svenskeren, but he's a bit tankier now than he used to be.
And they go all in. They know they have to try and do something on the Elder Dragon, but Hauntzer positioned for a massive flank once more. Needs some rage, hops into the pit. Doublelift going to force MMD out of the way, and Hauntzer regroups with his team, but the Elder Dragon still engaged, stunned. Hits MMD.
And the time is on TSM's side. The minions are moving into the Flash Wolves base, so the Flash Wolves feeling the pressure.
You can see it on all 3 lanes. In the mid, it has been pushed up, but those super minions are starting to stack. Bot and top. TSM, they're the ones that control the pace right now, but Corki has gone back. He has the TP to join the fray, but TSM, they're looking to start this Elder.
Elder again resets, but TSM make it grumpy once more.
What they want to do here is get the teleport out. Hauntzer's actually moving bottom lane. They're going to be able to get the turret here. Will they actually compete with the dragon?
Going back in again, Doublelift again, forcing them away as Flash Wolves engage the dragon. Hauntzer a long way away from his team at this point, but the Drake resets. Hauntzer again looking for a flank, 50% raid, jumps in with a boomerang spin, maybe try something. Hauntzer leaps in again, slow does not land as they try and follow.
Flash Wolves just doing their best to disengage. Let's see if TSM will commit.
Betty, beautiful ultimate to stop TSM. TP from Maple or now burn, he tried to flank the fight.
TSM immediately returned back to the Elder Dragon here. Now that there's no teleport on Maple, he's gonna have to join all or nothing.
And again, TSM playing patient back into the Elder Dragon. Hauntzer and Sven taking it up. Hauntzer about to get tired off. Finds Doublelift, but a QSS out as he rocket jumps away.
Hauntzzer is exhausted right now on Gnar. Won't be able to transform if they force the fight right now, but Maple's still in the mid lane, so it looks like they're going to give up this dragon.
MMD can't get into the pit, so TSM grab themselves the Elder Dragon. They're going to start storming towards the Flash Wolves base.
Flash Wolves could not deal with the pressure, and they didn't want to take the risk. Maple, he used the teleport behind TSM, but Flash Wolves, they could go for the re-engage. They knew that TSM was far too strong, and that means that TSM, they're going to get themselves another tower and work towards that third hit.
TSM did a good job of biding their time, waiting for their AD carry strengths with the extra range, the crit multipliers coming through to play the later game team fights, using Hauntzer to split push. Now he's with the rest of the team, and the rage is building up.
Doublelift again, so much confidence in himself. In the face of Flash Wolves' frontline, rocket jumps to safety. One in here back up, it's just me, but TSM are playing with fire.
The best hope that Flash Wolves have right now is that the ultimate from Sejuani comes up before the Mercurial Scimitar. Note as well that the defensive item from Biofrost still on cooldown too. If they ever want to catch Doublelift, this is going to be their best opportunity. But even then, you have to get through the Lulu and you have to get through the barrier of Double.
And they don't have many more minion waves to make their choice here. Top and mid are actually moving in. TSM,
Karsa! Sneaky ultimate finds Bjergsen! Rupture and MMD to the fire! Does go down, Sven! Gets permafrost time, but it's still 4v5. MMD looking to find the ruptures, but TSM happy to keep fighting.
Huge skill there for Flash Wolves, going to buy them a little bit of time. The minions will be a problem for them, but that might have done it.
They've been able to buy time, slow down the pressure from TSM. With Biofrost dead, it does mean that the defensive capabilities that TSM have dropped, but the damage is still there. TSM, they don't want to take the gamble, and Flash Wolves, they find the miracle play.
We saw it yesterday. Sometimes the best choice is to thread the needle and go for the support, because that is one that actually has low enough health to burst down. Flash Wolves did get it, and now we have another Baron
Oh my word, here we
ready
go.
to set up.
Yeah, all of this action on the bot side made me forget that Baron is now back alive. Flash Wolves looking to take it down. Maple going over. Hauntzer sticking bot side with the pressure, has the TP, but Flash Wolves don't pull the trigger just yet.
We have to re-emphasize how big of a hold that was for Flash Wolves. Both inhibitors have respawned.
They're rushing it, they're rushing it.
Biofrost is blocking it. This could be a 50-50. Gragas goes in. Karsa secures the Baron with his 5 in the team fight. Still there, Sven. He gets chunked down. And they're still chasing. A lot of damage done, but the Baron does go to Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves, it's huge. They're able to get the extra kill there. They land the Baron secure as well.
What an amazing game between Flash Wolves and TSM. The #1 representatives from the LMS versus the #1 representative from North America. Constantly butting heads, constantly trying to prove that they're the ones coming out on top. This was supposed to be the group of life, gents, but right now these guys are bloodthirsty and they want to be the ones to get that first win.
All right, Baron now 3 minutes on Flash Wolves. Elder Dragon spawning. Not quite yet, has a number of minutes, so that's still available, but Flash Wolves gonna try and take some inhibitors of their own. Ball back in their court. They're gonna try and force down TSM space. Remember, bot inhib is still open, but right now they're looking mid.
Doublelift on the front lines here, trying to clear out the minions before they get into the TSM base.
Full damage on Maple as well, rounding things out with a Phantom Dancer. His eyes are just dealing as much damage to the front line as possible because that's all this is. Whoever kills the tank first wins. And so far, Doublelift has been one of the big damage dealers, just shredding through MMD and Karsa. But Betty and Maple are no slouches either. They're looking to do the same as Flash Wolves got their eyes on this inhibitor.
Keep your eyes on these big ultimates. The disengage from Sven could negate a lot of the time from the Taric ultimate. Here it comes!
Taric ultimate in, but Betty actually knocked up just enough, but the ultimate was good from Gragas. Doublelift trying to cut it out of the way, but Hauntzer with the blade of the Royal King that he just got. He's trying to fight it out. Sven though dies again to Maple, and TSM forced to play 4v5.
That's one of the big tanks gone now for TSM. Flash Wolves are feeling confident. The Warmogs will regenerate these tanks for Flash Wolves, and they still have the Baron.
Finally, ultimate there. Taric ultimate definitely saved Betty inside the base. Here comes the teleport. They're pushing through.
Flash Wolves gonna try and seal the deal. As Karsa taking some heat, but again, Tanky moves back in. Hauntzer forced to watch out. The permafrost does land, but he gets out safely. Turret down though.
Remember, the bot lane inhibit is still exposed. Flash Wolves, they could just very quickly rotate down, but their eyes are on the top.
There's 28 seconds left on Svenskeren for the Gragas to get back up. Flash Wolves can take the outer turret, but the inhibitors will be difficult.
Hauntzer dip bot, but he immediately reroutes top when he sees where the Flash Wolves are going. Karsa again looks for Bjergsen, does find it, but the cleanse is off. Oh, Maple invulnerable! Goes in for Bjergsen, but he actually is forced out of the way. Not sure what's getting him back, but the turret does go down. Still Hauntzer chasing onto MMD, gets knocked up by the rush shot.
Svenskeren's back on his feet, so Flash Wolves barely do not get the inhibitor. There's 2 left. They're going to use the Baron Empowered Recalls to reset this one.
Cannot believe that Bjergsen was able to survive that engagement. What a play from Maple. This guy, right at the end, he's like, I have to make this. I just have to go into the backline. He has the ultimate from SwordarT. But Flash Wolves, they're not done yet. They've got their eyes on this in here.
Seek attack, they return to it!
Yeah, nice fake there from Flash Wolves. They will get the inhibitors.
They gotta run, they gotta run!
TSM are forcing the fight. They know they have to go. MMD forced the flash out of the way. Hauntzer can't slow anybody else down. Sven ready with the flash, but the carries still feeling safe, and Flash Wolves successfully steal the inhib and get away. MMD though, maybe not so lucky. Hauntzer in the promo still going. Chain of Corruption gonna turn it back around. Taric ultimate's still there as Hauntzer gets himself out of the way. Redemption misses everyone. Flash Wolves get out.
Oh my goodness, this Taric ultimate is always off cooldown. Late game here, level 16 with max cooldown reduction and an own record to boot. He's saving people left and right.
Less than a minute, 55 seconds.
Okay, so let's see. This is one of the fights from about 5 minutes ago now. Ulti onto Bjergsen, immediate cleanse. But that ultimate here from SwordarT, magnificent.
Yep, Taric ultimate comes down. It buys a lot of time for the front line, as well as Betty, who was knocked in. They turn it around to get the kill onto Svenskeren. That was a long time ago, though, when the extra inhibitors were standing. Now, Flash Wolves have a 2-inhibitor lead on TSM. Almost 50 minutes into the game, though. It's all about the setup for these fights.
They literally flipped it onto TSM. TSM were the ones that had 2 inhibitors down. They had their eyes on the Nexus, and then Flash Wolves were able to just barely get that base defense. They then found that pick onto Biofrost, which allowed to give them the Baron, and now they're the ones with their eyes on that 3rd and final inhibitor. But remember that one big fight will give the game win to TSM. There is very little left of the base of Flash.
Or the game to Flash Wolves. One fight is all it needs.
That's all it needs. It's literally on a knife's edge right now as to who will take this game.
It was even the same inhibitors. Betty says, look at the roller coaster we have been on for the first game of day 2.
Teleport is ready for Hauntzer, who just transformed in the top side. Flash Wolves could wait out this transformation from Gnar, wait till he returns to Mini and goes exhausted, but they're actually starting it out on Sven right now.
Karsa back into the front line. MMD taking a lot of heat. As Hauntzer tired, moves back in. He's going to try and force them out and just tag people with slows, but Flash Wolves still not done.
Now it's TSM that have to worry about timings and have to worry about the extra minions flooding into their base while they try and defend this 5-man squad.
But now gold means very little. Pretty much everyone is at full build. Even the supports have completed all of their itemizations. Full-on utility from another tank on the side of Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves, they have their eyes on this inhibitor, and TSM, they're doing a pretty good job of defending. But Hauntzer's pressure is being split all across the base.
There's 2 groups of super minions now inside the TSM base.
Look, they're hitting on them.
Going in for it now, the Redemption going to reset it all. Hauntzer now, Mega Karsa leaps in, but Hauntzer needs to find the angle. TSM trying to defend their base. Whoa! It's Karsa! He's going to go down! Stunned by Bjergsen, double it! Finds the kill, 5v4 now for TSM.
They're able to get the kill, and now they bought themselves time to clear out minion waves. Similar story here.
But remember, that's a 60-second death timer on top of Karsa right now. TSM, there is very little standing in their way. All they need is Hauntzer to defend, and they can just look to end the game.
In addition, Baron comes up in 35 seconds. That is longer than the Karsa death timer here. There will be no jungle for Flash Wolves, but TSM are already at Flash Wolves' base. They're going to run towards the inhib.
I think they're just going to go for it here. Minion wave not quite there just yet. In fact, they won't be there in time. Minion hip under threat, but MMD is going to make it back. Maple does so much damage. Hauntzer is forced to TP, and TSM are going to keep going.
Yeah, they spread themselves a little bit thin, but they want this inhibitor.
Doublelift does so much damage as Maple just eats it. Hauntzer does take the inhib down.
And now they can retreat to the Baron. 18 seconds left on Karsa. This is going to be so big. It's hard for Flash Wolves to run through this fog of war. If you close the map off, they're teleporting into the base.
They have 2 TPs. They might just drive a TSM. Gonna try and take the Baron. Maple, he's the one down the bottom side of Bjergsen. Instantly goes back to Baron. He's gonna get burnt down. TSM do get it. Now needs a Baron recall back. Maple is trying to go for the game.
That's going to be 3 inhibitors here. Flash Wolves are going to get double super minions in every single line.
Amazing decision-making from the Flash Wolves. TSM, they had control of the Baron. They were guaranteed to get it, and Flash Wolves had to make the split-second decision.
But now, TSM will defend with Baron buff. 6 super minions trying to make their way towards the base. Elder Dragon on the table.
They get the knockout!
They caught maybe Sven. Doublelift still going in. The ultimate there as he body slams out of the way. Ult burn from Taric. Flash was not going to have the cooldown of TSM. Look to re-engage.
They're trying to make use of this 30 seconds. The Elder Dragon is up and available to force.
No team has long. MMD still with his own TP as well. Watch the super minions as they move towards Maple. He's actually just cutting mid lane. TSM, you can have the Elder Dragon. Maple wants the game. No, he does feint back towards the team.
There is no ultimate from Cho'Gath available. He can't steal it, but Karsa could try and go for a smite.
Karsa, can he get in range? He's got the flash, not going to get it. Sven able to secure it. Redemption was looking for it. As Maple forced to burn the package. Hauntzer looks for the solid flashes in. Betty, and then found by Doublelift. That's the kill. TSM find one. That's a carry dead as now Flash Wolves grouped up. Get knocked back in. MMD move back into the team. He's dead as well.
That's going to be TSM with the Elder Dragon pushing into the base.
But look at Maple once again. He's trying to get the backline, but I don't think it matters. TSM, they've got their eyes on the game.
Race is on. One Nux is powered up for Flash Wolves. Maple, he's going to try it here as SwordarT. Looks to delay. 2-man stun. Redemption down for TSM as Karsa. Also in the mix with the turret. Is down. The Nexus exposed. And TSM win the thrill game here at